Hi guys, welcome back to At Home with Holly. My name's Holly. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Today we have a lot of projects to do inside. So we harvested our peppers and we harvested some flower seeds and stuff the other day. And so I wanted to make sure that we were using all of the peppers that we harvested. So today we're going to be making and canning some chili. I'm going to be making some pepper jelly because I'm obsessed with eating it right now. And then also we're going to be making some herb salt. We've got about 2, maybe 3 weeks till our first frost date. And so I have a ton of basil and garlic chives and things that are not going to make it once it gets much colder. So I want to go ahead and use up some of that. So we're making some herb salts, some chili, some pepper jelly. And I want to take you guys with me the whole way. So I did already start with some of the canning projects. So let me take you back to where we got started. Okay, friends. So when we harvested the peppers, I actually brought them inside and I roughly chopped them in half and took out the seeds and I put them in those food safe containers. And then I also this morning took out some ground beef, actually put it in the fridge the night before. And so this morning I took it out of the packages and have it waiting for me in my skillet because it is still a little frozen right in the center. So I figure by the time I'm done with these peppers, it will be right up to the right temperature that we can get a nice sear on that browned meat. So, because brown equals flavor. So what I'm doing now is I've got my gloves on because I'm doing the spicy peppers and I'm actually pulsing them up in the food processor. And then I'm putting them in a strainer with a bowl underneath that just so that all the extra juice and moisture drips out. I don't want all of that in my finished product of the jelly, but I do want a nice fine pulse on it. So first I'm going to go ahead and get all of the spicy ones done, which is why I have the gloves on. And then once I've got that in its bowl, then I'm going to switch over to the sweet peppers, the bell peppers. We've got some beautiful rainbow bell peppers from our garden this year. Overabundant harvest. It was kind of amazing. So I'm going to chop those up. And I did it in small batches to make sure that there weren't any large pieces left behind. And then same thing, I'm going to put it in a colander with a bowl underneath it to catch all of the extra moisture. And then since I have these things already diced up, I'm actually going to use some of the bell peppers and this spicy pepper mix in my chili as well. So I'm going to get that drained, then off to the side. And then we're going to start creating so you can see all that extra moisture that's at the bottom. We don't want that in our finished product. So I'm actually taking the time to weigh the peppers so that I know how many ounces I have of everything so that I can get my recipe correct for my pepper jelly. I'm obsessed with pepper jelly right now. So I get all those weighed into the side and then I move on to the chili because the peppers can wait. While this chili is going, I figured while it's processing, I can be making that. So I browned the meat. I added some of our frozen garlic pucks that we did together from last year's harvest. There's about 2 or 3 pucks left of that chopped up garlic in the food processor. I added some of the sweet peppers, the spicy peppers, and then our diced onions. I added all of the seasonings that you see here. I will link the recipe below that I'm using. And I added some tomato puree, some just plain tomato sauce that we made, not puree, but tomato sauce that we made last year. Added that all up, cooked it for about 20 minutes. And then this is a pressure canning recipe because it has meat in it and anything that's low acid needs to be pressure canned. So I'm filling the jars to 1-inch headspace and I'm going back and forth to make sure I've got the right size jars to make sure they're all really full. And we're going to get this processed. So I clean the lids, clean the edges, put on clean lids and bands, and then get it in the food processor. And then I move my attention back to the pepper jelly. So this is a triple batch. Now, in hindsight, I've done this same recipe in single batches and I've never had a problem with it setting. This batch was a little loose because I tripled it. That can happen sometimes with jellies and jams. You really shouldn't double or triple them. So, and I know better. So you actually, while you're stirring the whole time, you add the vinegar, apple cider vinegar to the sugar, and then you let that come to a boil. You add in your pepper mixture, let that cook for another 5 minutes, and then you turn off the heat, and then you go ahead and add your pectin. And so you're going to add this liquid pectin in, and then you're going to stir and for another 5 minutes, and then you're going to add it to the jars. So this does end up setting, but it's a little bit looser than the last batches that I did. And when you are doing jams or jellies, it is incredibly messy when you drip all over the place. So I did take an extra few minutes and I cleaned up the rims really well. And then I added the clean lids and bands, and then I actually took some vinegar and wiped off all the sides of the jars. And then I'm using my steam canner today to get these processed because it goes just so much quicker than when you have to heat up the water bath and you have to boil all that water. So if you're not familiar with a steam canner, it looks like a pressure canner or something almost. So you just add water to the specified amount, which in my case is 3 quarts. You add your jars, let it get to temperature. If you're going to calibrate your own machines, and it steams actually for the same amount of time that you would do a water bath. So now we're going outside and we are collecting our herbs for our herb salt. So we are going to be doing a garlic chive herb salt and then also doing a basil herb salt. I just thought this was a really cool way to preserve some of our fresh herbs that we grew. So I'm washing and drying the herbs, adding them to the food processor. So you do 1 part herb, 3 parts big chunky salt. So I'm using Himalayan pink salt in this. And then you pulse it all up in the food processor, lay it out on a tray. And then when it dries, you can either cook it in the oven, dehydrator, or let it air dry. I just let mine air dry for about 36 hours. And then when it's dry, you can go ahead and add it to the jars. And so I'm actually making this for Christmas gifts for my family. So family, when you see this, pretend you didn't see it. So I love being able to give goodies from my garden every single year for the people that I love. So once this is all spread out, I'm going to put it in my pantry actually for the next 36 hours. So we're going to move on to the next flavor that we're doing. And so we are doing garlic chives. If you've never had garlic chives, it's exactly what it sounds like. Garlic and chive, or like a light onion, had a baby. And it's wonderful. So wash these really well, go ahead and get them really dry. And then I did do a rough chop because these are kind of stringy and long. And so it was going to be longer and harder to process them, I think. So what I did was kind of give them like a rough chop after I dried them really well. And then I added them to the food processor with, again, 1 part chives, 3 part salt. I actually ran out of the larger chunk salt in this one. And so I added in some Redmond's real salt, the larger kosher granules. And so I added that in, made sure my food processor was dry from me rinsing it out, got it all pulsed up together, took a couple minutes to scrape down the sides really well. And then I went ahead and got a large pan, spread out the parchment paper, and once again, left this out to dry. So this is what it looks at the end of our session in the kitchen. We have all of our jelly that I'm calling confetti jelly because all the different pieces of rainbow bell peppers. We have our chili, and we have our 2 different types of herb salt drying. Now I'm going to let these dry for 36 hours. And then as you can see here, they're all nice and dry, and I'm going to go ahead and add them to the jars. And I think the easiest way to do this is to just pick up the whole piece of parchment paper and use a canning funnel and get it into the jars. And then this will stay good for at least 6 months, probably up to a year. After the 6 months, it won't be quite as flavorful, but it won't go bad. So I love being able to give these as gifts. And they're beautiful in the mason jars with the different colors too. So this is going to be really fun. Well, guys, we did it. We got through all the things. It is late, and it is time for me to call it a night. So I want to thank you guys so much for all the likes and the comments and the shares. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. We have a whole lot more growing and preserving and fun projects to do together. I just want to thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. It means so much to me and my family. I can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye, friend.